Jake Morrison walked through the massive doors of the Galaxy Council chambers. His black shoes clicked on the smooth metal floor as he made his way to the center of the room. Above him, hundreds of alien faces looked down from their seats. Some had big eyes, others had tentacles, and a few looked like giant insects. The air smelled strange, like a mix of different worlds all in one place. The human ambassador stopped at the speaking platform. He placed his hands on the smooth surface and looked up at the crowd. His heart was beating fast, but his face stayed calm. He had practiced this speech many times. Today would change everything between humans and the rest of the galaxy. Chancellor, Vextar sat in the highest seat. The tall, blue-skinned alien had ruled the Galaxy Council for over 200 years. His forearms moved as he spoke in a voice that echoed through the chamber. "The human representative may speak," Vextar said. His tone made it clear he thought this was a waste of time. Jake took a deep breath. "Thank you, Chancellor. I stand here today to speak for all of humanity. We have been part of this galaxy for 200 years now. We have followed your rules. We have paid your taxes. We have sent our young people to fight in your wars." A low buzz filled the room as aliens talked to each other in their own languages. Jake waited for them to quiet down before he continued. 3 months ago, human ships found a new planet in the Kepler system. It was empty. No life, no cities, just rocks and water. Our people started to build a colony there. Then your ships came and told us to leave. The Delphini representative, Kreshva, raised one of her tentacles. Water dripped from her blue skin as she spoke. "That system belongs to the Trilaxian Empire. Humans cannot claim it." Jake turned to face her. "The Trilaxians have not been to that system for over 5,000 years. They have no ships there, no people there, nothing. But when humans try to build a home, suddenly it matters to them again." High Arbiter Zolnith laughed. The sound was like metal scraping against stone. His gray skin looked like old leather, and his 6 eyes all focused on Jake. "Young human, you speak as if you have rights equal to ours. My people have traveled the stars for 50,000 years. Your species just learned to leave your planet. Yesterday." "Yesterday?" Jake's voice got louder. "We have been in space for 200 years. We have built cities on 30 worlds. We have saved council ships from pirates. We have shared our science with you. We have bled and died for this council. But you still treat us like children." More aliens started talking. Some agreed with Jake, others laughed at him. The chamber became noisy with different voices and languages. Chancellor Vextar hit his gavel 3 times to make them stop. "Order," Vextar shouted. "The human will finish his statement." Jake looked around the room. He saw some friendly faces, but most looked angry or bored. He knew what he had to say next would shock them all. "Humanity has tried to work with this council for 200 years. We have been patient. We have been polite. We have followed your laws even when they hurt us. But we are done being second-class citizens in our own galaxy." The room went quiet. Every alien eye was now focused on the human ambassador. "I am here to make one simple request. Give humanity full membership in this council. Give us the same voting rights as everyone else. Let us have a real voice in the decisions that affect our people." Zolnith's laugh echoed through the chamber. Again. "Impossible. Full membership requires proof of galactic maturity. Humans are still too young, too violent, too unpredictable." "Too unpredictable?" Jake asked. "Which species ended the Centauri War? Which species stopped the Vegan Plague? Which species built the trade routes that half of you use every day?" "That was different," Kreshva said. "Those were emergency situations. Humans are good at fighting and fixing problems. But governing requires wisdom that comes with age." Jake smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "I see. So we are good enough to die for you, but not good enough to have a say in our own future." Chancellor Vextar leaned forward in his seat. "Human Morrison, this discussion is pointless. The Council has spoken on this matter many times. Humanity will gain full membership when you prove you are ready, not before." When will that be? Jake asked. In another 100 years? 1,000? When your empires are so old they turn to dust? When the council decides, Vextar said firmly. Jake nodded slowly. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small device. He pressed a button, and his voice was recorded and sent to every human ship and colony in the galaxy. Then I have a message for this council, Jake said. His voice was calm, but there was steel in it. Humanity gives you 30 standard days to grant us full membership with complete voting rights. If you refuse, we will end all diplomatic relations with the Galaxy Council. The chamber exploded with noise. Aliens shouted in dozens of languages. Some stood up from their seats. Others hit their desks with their hands or tentacles. Zolnath's voice cut through the chaos. You cannot be serious. End diplomatic relations? You would isolate yourselves from the entire galaxy? We would free ourselves from a system that sees us as servants instead of equals, Jake replied. This is madness, Kreshova said. Humans need the council. You need our trade routes. You need our protection. You need our knowledge. Jake looked at her for a long moment. Do we? Or do you need ours? Chancellor Vextar hit his gavel again and again. This is a childish tantrum. Humans will come crawling back within days once you realize how much you depend on us. Jake picked up his papers and walked toward the door. Just before he left, he turned back to face the council one last time. Chancellor, you have known humans for 200 years, but you have learned nothing about us. We do not crawl. We do not beg. And we do not bluff. His eyes were cold as ice. 30 days. Choose wisely. The great doors closed behind him with a loud bang. The council chamber fell silent for a moment before erupting in angry voices once again. But Jake Morrison was already gone, walking back to his ship with steady steps. In 31 days, the galaxy would be a very different place. 31 days had passed since Jake Morrison left the Galaxy Council chambers. Admiral Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of the human battleship, Terra's Pride, and looked at the stars outside. Behind her, dozens of human ships waited for her. Orders, Admiral, said Captain Ben Taylor, her second in command. All human vessels have reported in. We are ready to begin Protocol 7. Lisa nodded. Protocol 7 was the plan they hoped they would never have to use. But the Galaxy Council had made their choice. Now humanity would make theirs. Send the signal, Lisa said. Across the galaxy, every human embassy, trade station, and diplomatic office received the same message at the same time. The message was simple. Come home. On the planet Zorax Prime, Ambassador Kate Williams walked out of the Trilaxian embassy for the last time. She carried a small bag with her personal things. The Trilaxian guards watched her leave but said nothing. They had been friends for 5 years, but now they looked at her like she was a stranger. Kate, wait, called diplomat Rendar, running after her. This is crazy. You cannot just leave like this. Kate stopped and turned around. The council had 30 days to change their minds. They chose not to. But the trade agreements, Rendar said. The research projects, the friendship between our peoples, you would throw all of that away? We did not throw it away, Kate said sadly. You did, when you decided that humans were not good enough to be your equals. She walked to her ship and flew away. Rendar watched her go, feeling confused and worried. This was not how things were supposed to happen. The same scene played out on hundreds of worlds. Human diplomats packed their things and left. Human traders canceled their contracts. Human scientists stopped sharing their research. In less than a day, humanity went silent across the galaxy. On Earth, President Ryan Cooper spoke to the people of his world. His speech was broadcast to every human colony and ship. My fellow humans, he said, today we begin a new chapter in our history. For 200 years we have tried to work with the Galaxy Council. We have been patient, we have been respectful. We have given much and asked for little in return. The president paused and looked directly into the camera. But patience has its limits. Respect must flow both ways. Today, the Galaxy Council showed us that they see humans as servants, not partners. So we choose to serve no one but ourselves. On the space station New Geneva, Dr. Amy Walsh shut down the Galactic Research Network. For 50 years, humans and aliens had shared scientific discoveries through this system. Human scientists had contributed 40% of all the research, even though humans made up only 3% of the galaxy's population. Dr. Walsh, said her assistant Dr. Carl Brooks, are you sure about this? If we cut the aliens off from our research, they will cut us off from theirs. Amy looked at him and smiled. Carl, when was the last time we learned something really important from alien research? Carl thought for a moment. I cannot remember. Most of their science is thousands of years old. They stopped making new discoveries long ago. Exactly, Amy said. We have been giving them our best ideas for free. Now they will have to figure things out for themselves. The effects of the human withdrawal were felt immediately. On the trade world of Nexus Station, Merchant Vexkill could not understand why. His business had suddenly fallen apart. Where are all the human traders? He asked his partner, Jelnera. Half of my customers were human ships. Jelnera checked her computer. They are all gone. Every human trade vessel left the station this morning. They did not even finish loading their cargo. This makes no sense, Vexkill said. They had contracts, legal agreements. They cannot just leave. But they had left. All across Council space, human traders were pulling out of their agreements. They paid the penalty fees without complaint and went home. Within a week, trade volume in Council space dropped by 30%. The military effects were even worse. Admiral Kreshevol of the Delphini Defense Force received a priority message that made his gills turn pale. Sir, said his aide, the human patrol ships have left the outer rim. All of them. All of them? Kreshevol asked. But they were protecting the trade routes from pirates. Yes, sir, the routes are now undefended. Kreshevol looked at the star map on his wall. Red dots showed where pirate attacks had happened in the last year. Most of them were in areas where human patrols used to stop them. Now those patrols were gone. How many ships can we send to replace them? He asked. His aide checked the fleet reports. Maybe 20 ships, sir. The humans had over 200 ships patrolling those routes. 20 ships to cover what 200? Used to protect? Kreshevol's voice got higher. That is impossible. But it was their new reality. Human military ships had quietly protected Council space for decades. They hunted pirates, stopped raiders, and kept the peace in dangerous areas. Now they were gone, and the galaxy felt less safe already. On the planet Altair 7, the research station went dark. Dr. Helen Ross and her team of human scientists packed up their equipment and prepared to leave. They had been working with Zephyrian scientists to develop new medical treatments. Dr. Ross, said Professor Zektar, surely this political situation does not have to affect our work. We are scientists, not diplomats. Helen looked at the alien she had worked with for 3 years. They had saved thousands of lives together. But she shook her head. Science is not separate from politics, Professor. Your government thinks humans are too young and stupid to make decisions about the galaxy. Why would we want to share our discoveries with people who think so little of us? She walked away, leaving Professor Zektar alone in his laboratory. Half of their research equipment belonged to the humans. Without it, most of their projects would have to stop. Back in the Galaxy Council chambers, Chancellor Vextar tried to act like nothing important had happened. Good riddance, he told the other council members. Humans were always too emotional, too unpredictable. The galaxy will be more peaceful without them causing trouble. High Arbiter Zolnath agreed. Let them sit in their little corner of space and sulk. They will realize their mistake soon enough. But not everyone was so confident. Kreshva, the Delphini representative, looked worried. Chancellor, she said, we may have made an error. Humans were involved in many important systems. Trade, security, research. Their absence will cause problems. Vextar waved one of his 4 hands dismissively. Temporary problems. Other species will fill the gaps. The galaxy existed for millions of years before humans arrived. It will continue just fine without them. However, in the weeks that followed, the problems got worse instead of better. The Centauri trade route, which humans had secured from pirates, became dangerous again. 3 merchant ships were attacked in the first week. The Galactic Medical Database, which humans had helped maintain, started having technical problems. Without their computer experts, several research projects had to stop because they depended on human-developed technology. Most worrying of all, some of the smaller alien species started asking uncomfortable questions. If the Council treated humans so badly, how would they treat other species who disagreed with them? On the human colony world of New Boston, people watched the news from Council space with mixed feelings. Some felt sad about losing their alien friends. Others felt angry about how they had been treated. But most felt something else. Relief. Know what? Said Farmer John Mitchell to his neighbor Mary Santos. Maybe this is for the best. We spent so much time trying to make the aliens happy that we forgot to take care of ourselves. Mary nodded. My daughter Jenny is studying to be a doctor. She always said she wanted to go to the Zephyrian Medical Academy because it was the best in the galaxy. But now she is excited about the new medical school we are building right here on New Boston. Maybe we do not need the aliens as much as we thought, John said. Mary smiled. Maybe they need us more than they thought. Far away in the cold space between stars, Captain Steve Martinez commanded the human ship New Horizon. His crew was returning from their last patrol mission in Council space. They would never return to these stars again. Captain, said his navigator, Lisa Park, we are receiving a distress call from a Council ship. Pirate attack in progress. Steve looked at the message on his screen. It was from a Trilaxian merchant vessel, the same species that had kicked humans out of the Kepler system. Set course for home, Lisa, he said quietly. Sir? What about the distress call? Steve turned away from the screen. That is not our problem anymore. 3 months had passed since the humans went silent. The problems in Council space were getting worse every day. What started as small issues had grown into big disasters that no one could ignore anymore. On the crystal world of Nexar, the Christek, Leader Shardtel called an emergency meeting with his advisors. The Christek were made of living crystal and silicon. They thought in ways that were very different from other species. For 50 years, they had worked closely with human scientists. Because humans could understand their unique way of thinking, the research projects have all stopped, said Advisor Prismnock, his crystal body flashing red with worry. Without human partners, we cannot continue our work on quantum computing. Shardtel's body turned a deep blue, showing his sadness. Humans were the only ones who could understand our crystal matrices. Other species think too slowly or too differently. What should we do? Asked another advisor. Shardtel was quiet for a long moment. Then his body began to glow white with determination. Perhaps it is time to question why we stay in a council that drove away our best partners. Far away in space, Captain Steve Martinez was having the best day he had experienced in months. His ship, the New Horizon, had just finished destroying an entire pirate fleet that had been attacking innocent traders. Captain, said his weapons officer, Danny Walsh, that was the cleanest fight I have ever seen. Those pirates never knew what hit them. Steve nodded as he watched the wreckage drift past their ship. Without having to follow council rules about proportional response and diplomatic solutions, we can actually protect people properly. The pirates they had just defeated were from the Hegemony, a group of violent aliens who had been causing trouble for years. The council always tried to negotiate with them instead of fighting them. Humans had wanted to stop the Hegemony with force, but the council said that was too violent. Sir, said Communications Officer Janet Black, we are getting a transmission from a council patrol ship. They want to thank us for destroying the pirates. Steve looked at the message on his screen. It was from Captain Velmac of the Zephyrian Space Navy. The message asked the humans to stay and help patrol the area. Send a reply, Steve said. Tell them, this is human space now. Council ships are not welcome here. Janet looked surprised. Sir, are we really claiming this entire sector? Why not? Steve asked. The council never protected it properly. Now, it is ours to defend. Back on Earth, Dr. Helen Ross was working in her new laboratory. She had been kicked out of the Joint Research Station when humans left Council space. Now she was free to work on projects that the Council had said were too dangerous. Dr. Ross, said her assistant, Dr. Peter Kim, the new faster-than-light drive is working perfectly. We can travel twice as fast as any Council ship now. Helen smiled as she looked at the test results. The Council always said our ideas were too risky. They wanted us to stick to safe, proven technology. Look what we can do when no one is holding us back. The new human FTL drive was not just faster, it was also quieter and harder to detect. Human ships could now move through space, almost like ghosts. This gave them a huge advantage over everyone else in the galaxy. Should we share this technology with our alien friends? Peter asked. Helen shook her head. Our alien friends chose the Council over us. Let them figure out their own technology. Meanwhile, the problems in Council space kept getting worse. On the trade world of Vega Station, merchant families who had been rich for centuries were now going broke. I do not understand it, said Trader Zexval to his wife. The humans were only 3% of the galaxy's population. How can losing them hurt us so much? His wife, Nilara, looked at their empty warehouses. Because they were involved in everything. They were not just customers. They were the ones who made sure the trade routes were safe. They built the computers that tracked our shipments. They designed the security systems that protected our money. Zexval realized she was right. Humans had not just participated in galactic trade, they had become the backbone that held it all together. Now that backbone was gone, and everything was falling apart. The military situation was even worse. General Thexmar of the Zephyrian Defense Force led a mission to take over an old human research station. The Council had decided that if humans abandoned their facilities, other species could claim them. This should be easy, Thexmar told his soldiers. Humans are gone. We just walk in and take whatever they left behind. But when they arrived at the research station, they found it completely empty. Every piece of equipment was gone. Every computer was wiped clean. Even the lights had been removed. All that remained was a message painted on the wall in big letters. We warned you. How did they move everything so fast? Asked Colonel Rixtar. This station had millions of credits worth of equipment. Thexmar stared at the empty rooms. I think we underestimated how well organized humans are. They planned this withdrawal perfectly. They searched the entire station but found nothing useful. The humans had taken everything and left nothing behind for their enemies to use. The worst problem was happening in the Outer Rim territories. Without human patrol ships, pirate attacks had increased by 500%. Merchant ships that used to travel safely now moved in large, heavily guarded convoys. But even that was not enough. Admiral Kreshevol of the Delphini Defense Force sent message after message to the Council, begging for more ships to protect the trade routes. We need at least 200 vessels to replace what the humans used to do, he wrote. Right now I have only 15 ships available. The Council's response was always the same. Make do with what you have. But making do was not working. Every day brought news of new attacks, new losses, new problems. The galactic economy was starting to collapse. On the peaceful world of Benthic, the fish-like people who lived there received terrible news. A hegemony, or fleet was coming to take over their planet. In the past, human ships would have arrived to protect them. Now they were alone. Send a message to the human colonies, said Elder Gilmara. Ask them for help. But Elder, said her aide, humans do not respond to Council species anymore. We are not asking as Council members, Gilmara said. We are asking as friends who never wanted this stupid war between humans and the Council. The message was sent, but no one expected an answer. Humans had been very clear about cutting off all contact with Council space. But 3 days later, something unexpected happened. A human battle fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Benthic system. Leading them was Colonel Nancy Price aboard the heavy cruiser Liberty's Shield. This is Colonel Price to Hegemony Fleet, she broadcast. You are in human-protected space. Leave now or be destroyed. The Hegemony commander, War Chief Skarnath, laughed at the message. Stupid humans. This is not your space. The fish people belong to the council, not to you. Wrong, Nancy replied. The benthic people are our friends. We protect our friends. The hegemony fleet had 30 ships. The human fleet had only 12. But when the battle started, it was not even close. Human ships moved faster, shot more, accurately, and worked together better than anyone had ever seen. In less than an hour, the entire hegemony fleet was destroyed. Not a single human ship was lost. Thank you, Elder Gilmara sent to Colonel Price. How can we ever repay you? Nancy's response surprised everyone. Join the Terran Alliance, become our partners, not our subjects. Word of the battle spread quickly through the galaxy. Humans were not just hiding in their own space, they were actively protecting anyone who wanted to be their friend. But they were also showing that they could destroy any enemy completely and quickly. In the Galaxy Council chambers, Chancellor Vextar was no longer acting confident. The reports from across Council space were all bad. Trade was failing. Pirates were winning. Several species were talking about leaving the Council. This is a temporary setback, he told the other Council members. Humans will realize they need us and come back. But High Arbiter Zolneth was not so sure anymore. What if they do not come back? What if we made a mistake? For the first time in 50,000 years, the Galaxy Council was starting to feel afraid. 6 months had passed since humanity went silent, and the Galaxy Council was falling apart. What had started as small problems had grown into a crisis that threatened to destroy everything they had built over thousands of years. In the Council, chambers on Nexus Prime, emergency meetings happened every day now. The great hall that once echoed with confident speeches now filled with worried voices and desperate arguments. Chancellor Vextar looked older than his 400 years. His blue skin had turned pale and his 4 arms shook when he tried to hold his papers. The reports in front of him told the same story over and over. Disaster. 15 more worlds have been attacked by hegemony forces, reported Admiral Kexenol. We lost contact with the mining colonies in the Vega sector. Pirates have taken control of the Centauri trade route completely. Council member Yishtari of the Vegan Collective stood up from her seat. Her plant-like body was usually green and healthy, but now her leaves looked brown and sick. This is madness, she said, her voice cracking like old wood. We are the Galaxy Council. We have ruled the stars for 50,000 years. How can a few humans cause so much damage just by leaving? High Arbiter Zolneth, who had laughed at Jake Morrison 6 months ago, was not laughing anymore. His 6 eyes looked tired and afraid. They were not just a few humans, he said quietly. They were everywhere. In our trade networks, our security systems, our research projects, we never realized how much we depended on them. The truth was becoming clear to everyone. Humans had not just participated in galactic civilization. They had become the glue that held it together. Without them, everything was breaking apart. Dr. Zen Thara, the Council's chief scientist, presented her report with shaking hands. Human. Technology was 50 years ahead of ours in most fields, 100 years ahead in some areas. We thought we were teaching them, but they were actually carrying us forward. Impossible, Chancellor Vextar said, but his voice had no strength behind it. Our civilizations are thousands of years older than theirs. Age does not equal progress, Dr. Zenthara replied. Humans kept pushing forward while we became comfortable with old ways. Now they have technology we cannot even understand. The Yar meeting was interrupted by an urgent message from the Trilaxian homeworld. General Mortek appeared on the main screen, his gray face covered in dust and blood. Council members, he said, our planet has been hit by a massive asteroid. Our defense systems failed to stop it. Millions are dead. Billions more are trapped in the ruins of our cities. The council members gasped. The Trilaxian homeworld had the best planetary defense system in the galaxy. If an asteroid could get through their shields, nowhere was safe. We need help, General Mortek continued. Emergency rescue teams, medical supplies, engineering support. In the past, humans would have been here already. Where are they now? Chancellor, Vextar tried to answer, but no words came out. Everyone in the chamber knew the truth. Humans were not coming to help because the council had driven them away. "Sir," said one of General Mortek's officers, "we are detecting human ships at the edge of our system." Hope filled the general's eyes. "Are they coming to help us?" The officer checked his instruments again. "No, sir. They are just watching. Now they are jumping away." The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in terrible silence. Humans had seen the disaster but chose not to help. The message was clear: you are not our friends anymore. Council member Kresheva of the Delphini spoke next, her tentacles drooping with sadness. "This morning I received word from my homeworld. The Kristek have officially left the council. They are joining something called the Terran Alliance." More gasps filled the chamber. The Kristek were one of the oldest and most respected species in the galaxy. If they were leaving, others would follow. "How many species have left us now?" asked Vextar. His aide checked the records. 23 species have left the council in the past 2 months, sir. 41 more have sent requests to join the Terran Alliance. "What is this Terran Alliance?" Zolneth asked. Dr. Zenthara had been studying human communications. "It appears to be a new government that humans created. Any species can join if they agree to treat all members as equals. No senior species, no junior species. Everyone has the same rights and responsibilities." The irony was not lost on anyone. Humans had created exactly what they had asked the council to become, but they had done it without the council. "We should offer them full membership again," suggested Kreshva. "Tell them they can have equal voting rights if they come back." "Chancellor," Vextar shook his head. "I tried that last week. I sent a formal invitation through neutral channels. Do you know what they replied?" He activated a recording device. Jake Morrison's voice filled the chamber, calm and cold. "The Galaxy Council had 50,000 years to learn wisdom. You chose arrogance instead. Humanity chooses independence. Do not contact us again." The recording ended. Several council members began to cry or make sounds of distress in their own languages. Senator Kate Williams had been humanity's cultural liaison before the split. Now she lived on the human colony world of New Austin, far from council space. But she still received messages from her old alien friends begging for help. "Kate, please," said the message from Ambassador Fendal of the Antarian Republic. "Our children are dying from a plague that human doctors could cure easily. Just send us the medicine. We will pay any price." Kate stared at the message for a long time. She remembered Fendal's daughter, a sweet little girl who had played with human children at embassy parties. Now that child was sick, maybe dying. But Kate also remembered how the Antarians had voted to keep humans out of the council's inner circle. They had said humans were too young to understand galactic politics. She deleted the message without answering. The economic collapse was spreading faster now. The Zephyrian Banking Consortium, which had managed galactic finances for 10,000 years, announced that they were bankrupt. Their investments had been tied to human-protected trade routes that no longer existed. On the manufacturing world of Kepler-7, factories that had run for centuries were shutting down. They could not get the raw materials they needed because shipping had become too dangerous and expensive. "We built our whole economy around the idea that humans would always be there to make things work," said factory manager Velpos to his workers. "Now we are learning what happens when they leave." The military situation was getting worse every day. The Altarian hegemony had conquered 12 council worlds in the past month. Their war fleets moved freely through space that human patrols used to protect. Admiral Vexikar, brother of Chancellor Vextar, presented his final report to the military council. His normally proud bearing was replaced by defeat and shame. "We cannot stop them," he said simply. "The hegemony has learned that council forces are weak without human support. They are not afraid of us anymore." "How many ships do we need to match human military strength?" asked General Thexmar. Admiral Vexkar looked at his intelligence reports. "Conservative estimate, we would need to triple our current fleet size and completely redesign our weapon systems. Even then, we would still be years behind their technology. And if we started building those ships today, 20 years minimum." assuming we could even figure out how to build them without human engineering help. The final blow came when the peaceful benthic people announced they were leaving the council to join the Terran Alliance. They had been council members for 8,000 years. The humans protected us when you could not, Elder Gilmara said in her resignation speech. They ask for partnership, not submission. They offer friendship, not dominance. The choice is easy. That night, Chancellor Vexitar sat alone in his private chambers. The weight of 50,000 years of galactic history pressed down on him like a mountain. His species had helped found the Galaxy Council when humans were still living in caves. Now those same humans had built something better in less than a year. He activated his personal communicator and tried to contact Jake Morrison directly, but the message came back immediately with an automated response. All diplomatic communications from Galaxy Council sources are blocked. Message deleted without viewing. Humans would not even listen to apologies anymore. Outside his window, Vextar could see the lights of Nexus Prime, the greatest city in Council space. But many of those lights were going out now as businesses failed, and people left for safer worlds. For the first time in his long life, Chancellor Vexitar wondered if the Galaxy Council would survive to see another year. 1 year had passed since humanity cut all ties with the Galaxy Council. The greatest civilization in galactic history was dying, and everyone knew it. In an emergency session that would decide the fate of the galaxy, the remaining council members gathered in their once proud chambers. The room that used to hold 400 species now had less than half that number. Empty seats reminded everyone of how many had left to join the humans. Chancellor Vextar stood before the assembly, but he was not the same proud leader who had dismissed Jake Morrison a year ago. His blue skin looked gray and sick. His forearms trembled as he held his speech papers. Fellow council members, he began, his voice cracking. We face the greatest crisis in our 50,000-year history. Our economy has collapsed. Our military cannot protect us. Our member species are leaving us every day. The chamber was eerily quiet. No one argued or made speeches anymore. They all knew the truth. Therefore, Vextar continued, I propose we offer humanity full membership in the Galaxy Council. Complete voting rights, equal representation, and shared leadership of all galactic affairs. High Arbiter Zolnath, who had once called humans children, nodded sadly. We should have done this a year ago. Now it may be too late. The vote was unanimous. For the first time in Council history, every species agreed on something. They would beg humanity to come back and save them. But getting the message to humans was harder than expected. All diplomatic channels had been blocked for months. Finally, they convinced a neutral trader to carry their formal invitation to human space. The response came 3 days later. Commander Paul Jackson of the human flagship Defiance appeared on the Council's main screen. He was a tall man with gray hair and cold blue eyes. Behind him, the bridge of his ship looked clean, efficient, and powerful. Galaxy Council, he said, his voice like ice. I have received your invitation. Let me be very clear about humanity's response. The council members leaned forward in their seats, hoping for mercy. You had 50,000 years to learn wisdom, Commander Jackson continued. Instead, you chose arrogance. You treated us like servants when we offered partnership. You ignored us when we begged for equality. You dismissed us when we warned you of the consequences. Chancellor Vextar tried to interrupt. Commander, we are willing to. You are willing to do now what you should have done a year ago. Jackson cut him off. But humanity has moved beyond you. We have built something better. The screen changed to show a massive space station unlike anything the Council had ever seen. Ships from dozens of species moved around it in perfect harmony. This is New Geneva, Jackson said, capital of the Terran Alliance. 47 species have joined us as equal partners. They vote on all decisions. They share in all benefits. They are treated with the respect you never gave us. Dr. Zenthara, the Council's chief scientist, could not hide her amazement. That station is impossible. The technology required to build something that large is beyond your understanding, Jackson finished. That is what happens when intelligent species work together, instead of following the orders of ancient empires. Council. Member Kreshova tried a different approach. Commander, surely we can negotiate. The galaxy is big enough for both the Council and your alliance. Jackson's laugh was cold and bitter. You think this is about territory? This is about justice. You created a system based on age and tradition instead of merit and equality. We created one based on worth and friendship. The truth hit the Council like a physical blow. Humans had not just left them, they had replaced them. What about our people? Asked Vextar desperately. The species that remain in the Council. Will you let them suffer for our mistakes? Any species can apply to join the Terran Alliance, Jackson replied. All they have to do is abandon your corrupt system and embrace equality. The Christek did it. The Benthic did it. 38 other species
did it.
And if we refuse? Jackson's eyes grew even colder. Then you will face the consequences of your choices. The Altarian hegemony is still attacking your worlds. Pirates are still raiding your ships. Your economy is still collapsing. Those are your problems now, not ours. The transmission ended, leaving the Council in shocked silence. But the conversation was not over. That same day, Dr. Charlie Banks made an announcement that changed everything. The human scientist appeared on news broadcasts across the galaxy. Today, humanity has solved the great filter problem that has limited faster-than-light travel for millions of years, he said calmly. Our new drives can reach any point in the galaxy in days instead of months. The implications were staggering. Whoever controlled this technology would control the galaxy. Will this technology be shared with the Galaxy Council? Asked a reporter. Dr. Banks smiled. This technology will be shared with our friends in the Terran Alliance. As for the Council, he shrugged. They chose their path. Within hours of the announcement, 20 more species submitted applications to leave the Council and join the Terran Alliance. The flood had become an avalanche. On the human world of New Austin, former Senator Kate Williams watched the news with mixed feelings. Part of her felt sad about the destruction of the old galactic order, but most of her felt proud of what humanity had accomplished. "Mommy," said her daughter, Lucy, "why are the aliens on TV crying?" Kate looked at the images of desperate Council, members begging their own people not to leave. "Because they learned too late that friendship is more valuable than power, sweetheart." The final blow came when High Arbiter Zolnith himself made a personal journey to Earth. The proud alien who had once laughed at human demands now stood outside the Terran government building like a beggar. President Ryan Cooper agreed to meet with him, but only as a courtesy to a former colleague. "Please," Zolnith said, his 6 eyes filled with tears. "I understand now that we were wrong. Humans deserved equality from the beginning. Can we not find a way to work together again?" President Cooper looked at the alien who had helped destroy humanity's trust in the Council. "Arbiter, a year ago, we wanted to be your partners. You wanted us to be your servants. Now you come to us as the servant asking us to be your master. I ask only for a chance to make things right." Cooper shook his head. "You had that chance. Jake Morrison gave you 30 days to choose wisdom over pride. You chose pride. Now you live with the consequences. But surely, the meeting is over," Cooper said firmly. "Earth security will escort you back to your ship." As Zolnith was led away, he realized that humanity had learned something the Council never understood. True power came not from forcing others to obey, but from inspiring them to follow. In the months that followed, the Galaxy Council continued to shrink. The Terran Alliance continued to grow. Human colonies expanded into previously unexplored regions of space. New technologies emerged from Alliance research stations every week. Colonel Nancy Price, now an admiral in the Terran Defense Force, led the largest fleet in galactic history. Ships from dozens of species flew under the Alliance flag, protecting trade routes and stopping pirate attacks with efficiency the Council had never achieved. "Admiral," asked her second-in-command, Captain Mike Thompson, "what should we do about the remaining Council worlds? Some of them are asking for protection from hegemony attacks." Nancy looked at the star map showing Council space. Red zones, marked areas under enemy control. It was a sad sight. Any world that wants to join the Alliance is welcome, she said. Any world that wants to stay with the Council faces their problems alone. We protect our friends, not our former enemies. The Raik end came quietly. Chancellor Vextar stood in the Council chambers one last time. Only 12 species remained. The great hall that once echoed with the voices of hundreds now felt empty and cold. The Galaxy Council is hereby dissolved, he announced to the handful of beings who still listened. Each species will return to their homeworlds and govern themselves as they see fit. There was no ceremony, no grand speeches, no historical moment. The oldest government in galactic history simply died from loneliness and irrelevance. Outside the chamber, human ships patrolled the space routes they now controlled. The Terran Alliance flag flew over stations that used to belong to the Council. New colonies sprouted on worlds that humans had found and claimed. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy through war or force. They had won it by walking away from those who did not value them, and building something better with those who did. Indeed, the end, the greatest victory was not defeating the Galaxy Council. It was proving that the galaxy did not need them at all.